Purpok here, and welcome back to another episode of Race the Ramen, the show where I attempt to review something unscripted in the amount of time it takes to boil an instant ramen. And today we'll be taking a look at Reminiscence, showing now in theaters and on HBO Max. Alright, we're going to start the timer right now. Okay, so, Reminiscence. I'm going to cut to the chase here. This is the worst movie I have seen all year. I'm kind of shocked. I've seen some bad movies this year. This is ridiculous. I went and saw this with my brother and my grandpa in a theater, and we all pretty much agreed that it was one of the worst things we'd ever seen. They both thought it was the worst thing they'd ever seen, period. I've seen worse, probably, but yeah, this is still one of the worst movies I think I've ever had the privilege of witnessing. It is here's the basic premise, in case you care. It's set in some point in the future, they don't really tell us when, where Hugh Jackman plays some sort of scientific expert. He's in charge of this machine that lets people relive their memories for pleasure. And he gets entangled with this mysterious woman that he falls in love with. And he starts looking into what happened to her after she disappears. And it's supposed to be this big noir story, kind of Inception-esque, I guess. I mean, the idea is very much similar. But no, it is not like Inception. It's not nearly as good as Inception. And, we joke. A lot of people like to joke that Inception didn't have any ideas because they had a machine that let people go into dreams. And it's basically just a bunch of gunfights. And you know what? That is unfortunate in its lack of creativity in that regard. But compared to Reminiscence, it's so much better. Reminiscence does, nothing competently. I mean, the camera's in focus, and you can tell what's going on most of the time. And the acting isn't terrible. But every single actor is just doing middle of the road. Even Hugh Jackman. He puts, no effort into, 99% of the performance. He could have been anybody. And it's kind of fucked up, because I think that's the only reason a lot of people saw this. This movie has nothing going for it. It's slow, it's meandering, directionless, and the dialogue. That's the biggest problem. I mentioned that the cinematography is flat, and the acting's boring, the score is boring too. It's pretty much just boring all the time. But the biggest problem is the script. The script is awful. The dialogue is so bad all the time. Everyone is constantly just waffling on, explaining things instead of showing them constantly. And even then, it's still difficult for me to remember a lot of what people said. It's mostly people standing around talking, but I can barely even latch on to that stuff. All I remember is all the convoluted plot points. And fucking, God, people like to talk about movies people like to say things are pretentious, things like Birdman or whatever like that, it's Oscar bait, it thinks it's smarter than it is. I disagree in cases like that. There's something to be said by movies like that. Reminiscence has nothing to say. It has absolutely nothing insightful or deep. To me, it is the absolute definition of pretentious, because it's putting up pretense. That's what it means to be pretentious. It thinks it's smart, and it's not smart. It's incredibly dumb. This feels like a movie that was written for, the lowest common denominator. It had, absolutely no faith in the audience. That they wanted to make sure you knew what was going on all the time. So emotions and motivations and things are explained to you over and over. And at the same time, none of the characters have any personality. Hugh Jackman, all he's got as the main character is that he's in love with this woman that he's looking for, who he basically only knew for a few months. And the more the film goes on, the more you're just why is he doing all this? And on top of that, there's this whole thing, the world building doesn't make any sense. It's the ocean is rising, so, cities are, made of districts that are, sinking and not sinking. And it's how'd the wealth gap get this bad? Did the government not intervene? The science doesn't make sense. Everything in the story exists because it has to exist for the story to happen. And they don't care how they get there. It's contrivance after contrivance. The main character is unlikable and stupid. The whole movie, is constantly repeating itself and just saying things you're not supposed to think about when it's supposed to be making you think. And I want to point this out. Warner Brothers, you motherfuckers. First of all, Space Jam 2, fuck off for that. Second, they had been advertising this movie up the ass. I didn't know anything about this until like last month when they started advertising the shit out of it, which is generally a bad sign because it's like, oh, right before it comes out and like really spam it to make sure people see it before people learn it's crap. It's usually what this kind of thing is. They've been calling it the perfect mind-bending thrill ride. Fuck off with that. More like the perfect mind-bending shill ride. Fucking terrible. Hopefully that perfectly professional, level-headed discussion gave you an idea of what I think of the movie. I could go on for honestly like an hour. I talked for like an entire hour over lunch with my brother and my grandpa over this, because this is just terrible. For this movie, it was a first-time director, first-time writer, Lisa Joy, who worked on Westworld. This movie had a $68 million budget. It had every ball in its court to be something at least passable. No. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. Unredeemably bad. Boring, pretentious, slow, incredibly stupid. It feels like a trick. I feel like I have actively been tricked by the marketing for this movie. So you know what? I'm gonna give Reminiscence, Race the Ramen's very first 1 out of 10. This movie is garbage. It should not have been released. I know it cost $68 million, but that's your mistake, not mine. I'm glad I got to break out the flaming ramen. I've been saving this footage. Wanted to do something special for a movie this bad, go a little longer than normal. But yeah, don't watch it, not even for fun. It's not funny bad, it's just bad. You want to watch it to see how bad a script can be done, go for it. But other than that, stay away. Stay far away. Don't watch it on HBO Max, even if it's free for you, don't do it. It's just not good. Reminiscence is terrible. The end. Good day, sir.